When it comes to the Australian Defence Force in 2026, what can we expect? The big acquisition headlines grab attention, but military power is not built in dramatic bursts. It's built quietly, year by year, through sustained effort and hard trade-offs. And 2026 is one of those years. Deliveries, integration, training, logistics. Capabilities that have been promised for years begin to arrive in meaningful numbers. Exercises become sharper and more demanding. Industry sustainment and supply chains matter just as much as the platforms themselves. And the expected 2026 National Defence Strategy should lay out how Australia plans to deter threats, fight if necessary, and sustain its military in a more dangerous Indo-Pacific. Today, let's take a look at what we might expect from all arms of the Australian Defence Force and munitions manufacturing industry. I'm Mel Pikos, and today we're talking tactics. Australian Army. Let's start on land. In 2026, the Australian Army turns 125 years old, marking the anniversary on the 1st of March. There will be a range of public events and activities to honour the people, the history, and the commitment of the Army. And as mentioned by the Chief of Army, Lieutenant General Simon Stewart,
this year we also begin the next phase of our Army's transformation. To optimise our Army to fight in the littorals, to strike at long range, to win the close fight on the land, and to deliver our unique, enduring and indispensable contribution to our joint teammates and our allies and our partners.
The focus is shifting away from heavy expeditionary operations and towards a force designed for long-range fires, little operations, and joint deterrence. And that focus will take the form of delivery of capabilities, joint training, and manufacturing commencement. HIMARS deliveries will continue. It's believed at least 8 of these units are already in Australia, and an additional 10 to 15 launches expected to arrive during the year. Our initial orders for HIMARS was 42 units, but in 2025 that order was upped to a total of 90 units. That steadily builds Australia's long-range strike capacity and reinforces Army's role in joint targeting, deterrence and denial. The final M1A2 Abrams tanks are also due to be delivered, completing the upgrade program from our older tanks. The Army used to operate 59 M1A1 Abrams tanks, and the new batch will increase to 75 M1A2s. From here, the emphasis will move away from acquisition and toward sustainment, training and integration with other ADF fires. Boxer combat reconnaissance vehicles continue arriving, with roughly 30 to 40 more vehicles delivered through the year. These vehicles are being built at Milvaco in Queensland, and the next batch pushes the Army closer to full operational strength in its motorised reconnaissance units. The Apache program also continues to build momentum. So far, we have 6 and around 4 to 6 additional AH-64E choppers are expected this year. There will be a growing focus on crew training, weapons integration, and working alongside land and air fires. The Huntsman self-propelled howitzers will roll in as well, with another 5 to 10 vehicles delivered and joining the 2 we currently have. These are central to Army's ability to deliver protected, mobile, long-range artillery support. The Army's new landing craft medium vessels are scheduled to begin construction and enter sea trials starting in 2026, which would be great, but there is some industry concern that design and contract delays could push this back to 2027. And just recently, Burden has signed a $125 million contract to deliver a new amphibious vehicle, logistics capability from the Land 8710 program. The new AVLs will replace the aging Lark V fleet, offering better performance in surf zones, extreme weather and corrosive salt water, while still being road legal on land. They're to be built in Port Macquarie, so we should keep an eye out for a prototype this year. And one of the quiet but important developments in 2026 is the beginning of early production for the Redback infantry fighting vehicle. They will go into production at HACE, Hanwha's armoured vehicle construction facility in Geelong, which is the same facility that will produce the Huntsmans. The Redback is a 5th generation infantry fighting vehicle, and its production marks the start of a significant sovereign manufacturing effort in Australia for the long term. The Royal Australian Navy. Now let's take to the seas. For the Navy, 2026 is about preparation and transition. The Mogami frigate program is expected to be finalised during the year, and the first ship is scheduled to commence construction in 2026. The first 3 ships will be built in Japan before the rest are constructed at Henderson Defence Precinct in Western Australia. Also in WA, AUKUS upgrades continue at HIMARS Stirling, covering wharf infrastructure, sustainment facilities, security and support systems needed for future nuclear-powered submarine operations. It's not glamorous, but it is a foundation and necessary. Without this infrastructure, none of our future nuclear submarine plans are credible. The US also plans to use these to dock their Virginia-class submarines. The Ghost Shark autonomous undersea vehicle will continue testing through 2026, with the possibility of early operational experimentation alongside Navy. They are small, cheaper, harder to detect, potentially deployed at scale, and far safer for sailors because they're not actually sitting inside these subs. This is a glimpse into how undersea warfare is changing. And 2026 is also a major exercise year. Rim of the Pacific returns to be held once again in Hawaii. It's the world's largest biennial international maritime warfare exercise and will see roughly 29 nations and 25,000 personnel take part. Australia will play a significant role in high-end maritime warfighting alongside allies and partners such as the USA, Japan, the Philippines, the UK, and plenty of others. Look out for it in June and July. Exercise Kakadu also runs, reinforcing Australia's position as a regional maritime hub and drawing in Indo-Pacific navies focused on interoperability and maritime security. At these exercises, we could see testing of new ships, missiles, or capabilities, so it's going to be an interesting one to watch. The Royal Australian Air Force. The RAF will also see a number of exercise, deliveries, and integrations this year. Pitch Black returns in 2026, but likely in a noticeably smaller form. In 2024, the exercise was the largest in its history, with 20 participating nations, over 140 aircraft, and approximately 4,435 personnel participating. This year, only around 13 countries are expected to participate, with many air forces increasingly focused on security challenges closer to home, particularly in Europe and East Asia. But that doesn't reduce the value of the exercise. If anything, it sharpens the focus on quality over quantity. And the RAF will continue participating in major overseas exercises, including Red Flag at Nellis and Exercise Bamboo Eagle in the USA. The MQ-28 Ghost Bat program also continues intensive training. Human-machine teaming, autonomy, and integration with crewed aircraft remain the central focus. The Ghost Bat became one of the first collaboration combat aircraft to successfully engage an aerial target with an air-to-air missile. When originally announced, it was seemingly not supposed to carry weapons at all, but that looks like it might have changed significantly. What could change for the Ghost Bat in 2026? And one of the most important developments is the continued progress of Air 6500 Phase 1, the Joint Air Battle Management System. This system is effectively the brain of Australia's future integrated air and missile defense network. It connects sensors, shooters, and decision makers across domains, enabling faster and more coherent responses to complex threats. 2026 should see the program transition to active development and integration and focusing on delivering a minimum viable capability. Munitions. If there's one area where 2026 stands out, it's munitions. I've said previously that I think Australia should become a missile manufacturing powerhouse, and it looks like some people agree with me. There are a few new facilities that are being opened and upgraded in order to produce bullets, bombs, and missiles. At Port Wakefield in South Australia, assembly of Australian-made guided munitions begins. It launched in December 2025 and will produce guided multiple launch rocket system missiles. The target is around 300 missiles produced by the end of the year. That may sound modest, but it represents a fundamental shift from storage and import towards domestic production. The Consberg factory in Newcastle is scheduled to be completed in 2026. This facility will then produce naval strike missiles and joint strike missiles, directly supporting Navy and Air Force strike capability. At Orchard Hills in Sydney, major upgrades continue to munitions storage facilities with hardened bunkers, increased security, and infrastructure designed for scale and resilience, all coming online. Looking to the future. Across the ADF, the pattern is consistent. More platforms are arriving, but integration matters more than numbers. Industry, logistics, and sustainment are now strategic capabilities in their own right. Exercises are rehearsals, not just training drills. Although we will have the release of the 2026 National Defence Strategy, but I don't think it will be the year of dramatic announcements. But it will be the year the ADF quietly becomes more lethal, more resilient, and more serious about operating in a contested world. And in the strategic environment Australia is facing, that might matter more than any headline ever could. But what do you think? Did I miss something significant that may happen this year? What are your predictions? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Mel Pikos, and we've been talking tactics.